For today's video, I wanted to showcase and talk a little bit about some pins that I don't think I've ever talked about or shown before, and those are Loungefly pins from Box Lunch. If you aren't familiar with Box Lunch is actually owned by Hot Topic, and they do a lot of fandom-inspired items, a very large chunk of which are Disney items. These are all Disney licensed items, so it's not like your Disney Parks authentic merchandise. But as part of their licensed items, they're coming out with a lot of really cool Disney pins. So these are pins that do say copyright Disney on the back, meaning they are tradable pins. They're just not Disney trading pins. I thought that it'd be interesting to share these Box Lunch pins because the designs that they're coming out with are some of the coolest Disney pins that I've seen in a long time. However, the coolness of the designs, at least for me, are negated a little bit by the make of the pins. I'm not the biggest fan of how the pins actually look, but I'll show you what I mean when I actually give a closer look at some of the pins. Getting pins from Box Lunch actually isn't as easy as you would think. It almost feels like the Disney pins that they release are like limited release or limited edition because they'll be on their website for a day and then just sold out and they won't return. I ended up getting really lucky on a day and went to my Box Lunch when they just had released some new pins, but otherwise, at least in my store, the pins are all just jumbled in one fishbowl at the register, and the Disney pins are jumbled with all of their other licensed pins, so it's kind of a nightmare to have to dig through when you're doing it right there at the register. So my recommendation would be, if you see a Box Lunch pin online, go for it online, because you can actually have that item shipped in store if you have a Box Lunch near you. That's what I did with one of these pins here. It made it so much easier because I purchased it online when they had one of their online sales, and it seems like they have a sale almost every other day. So you got a discount over what was in store, you didn't have to pay for any shipping, and I lucked out that when I went to pick it up, they did actually have some new awesome pins in stock. So I'm going to share some of the most recent Box Lunch pins that I've gotten and talk a little bit about what I do and don't like with these pins. This right here is my current little collection of Box Lunch pins. These pins are all from the brand Loungefly, which I know Disney does quite a lot of collaborations with. And these are pins that you can only find at Box Lunch. So as you can see from some of these designs, these feature a lot of Disney characters that you really don't see pins of. And so it's awesome that Box Lunch is putting out merchandise like this. This was the very first Box Lunch pin that I got, and it features Max Goof as Powerline. And so Box Lunch came out with this Max Goof Powerline pin maybe a month or so ago. It was online for a very short amount of time before it sold out, since obviously Goofy Movie is having quite a bit of a resurgence and Max's Powerline is pretty popular. If you can get a sense for scale, these pins are quite small. This Max is actually my favorite in terms of quality. All the Box Lunch pins have a shiny epoxy or resin top coat on them. And the reason that these pins have that is because they're made of a soft enamel. So just about all authentic Disney trading pins, as in part of the Parks Disney trading pin line, those are made with hard enamel. So those typically have more defined lines. The enamel is smooth to the edges. Soft enamel quite often have very fine lines and the paint is dipped in. So when they put that glossy top coat on, that kind of smooths everything out. But I don't have too much of a problem with that style with this Max pin. But you can really tell with this Bernard and Bianca pin. This pin, again, like how awesome. They come out with so few Rescuers pins, and I love the Rescuers. But you can see just how fine the lines are. And then the pin has, again, that glossy epoxy top coat on it. But you can see how the coloring on the line work doesn't seem quite so even. So that's really my one big complaint with these Box Lunch pins. I love the characters and the design so much, but I just wish that they had spent the extra money to make them with hard enamel. Soft enamel are the cheapest kind of pins to make. And that's why you'll often find fake pins in the eBay lots being made with soft enamel. But at least they're always super nice and glossy with a top coat finish. So just as a reference, this is what the back of a pin from Box Lunch looks like. It does have that copyright Disney on the back, which means that yes, you can trade this pin. However, these pins are probably a little bit too nice to trade with cast members. But a lot of people online now do like to trade these pins. You should, though, however, disclose that they are a pin from Box Lunch and that they are a licensed pin. I have this really awesome Wally and Eve pin. This Eve on here is a slider, but she's actually very difficult to move, so she's a little bit more stationary. This was a pin that I did an in-store pickup for, since I had found it online when it was on sale, and it was really easy to bop down to my mall and pick it up with no shipping cost. That guaranteed that it was there for me, and then I also got the online discount as well. Like the others I've shown, again, it's got the glossy top coat. The metal on this one is all gold, but again, this pin I think would just be so much nicer if it was like a hard enamel. What's cool about this pin is that since it's a Pixar pin, it has a little bit of a different backer card featuring some of the other Disney Pixar characters. Finally, I have two Emperor's New Groove pin sets that I kind of freaked out when they dropped, because if you know me, you know that I love the Emperor's New Groove. And I also love when Yzma is in her kitty cat form. So this Kronk pin set released first. These pins, again for scale, are pretty darn small, but you see so few pins with Kronk, and I think that there's like a very rare framed set pin that features Kronk with his angel and devil, but otherwise these are the first and only angel and devil Kronk pins I have. So I really love how unique they are with the designs, and they're featuring some characters that you don't see super often. And then finally you have the Cusco Llama and Yzma cat pin set. This I was so happy to find in my store. It just lucked out that when I went to pick up the Wally pin, this pin set had been released that day. It only took a minor amount of digging through that fishbowl at the register. But you almost never see pins of Cusco in his llama form, and there are so few Yzma cat pins. And I love how she's holding the llama potion. The designs really are just so awesome. So I'd say box lunch is definitely one of the new and up-and-coming avenues to get Disney pins. These pin sets are close to on par, if not a little bit cheaper than what you would find in the parks. For example, this Bernard and Bianca pin, this retailed for $8.90. And then this 2-pin set retailed for $12.90. So prices really are not bad at all, and you're gonna see some unique designs that you won't really see on any other Disney pins. But really, if you see a new pin release on the Box Lunch website, be sure to snag that as quickly as you can, because they go out of stock so quickly. Sometimes they might restock, but Box Lunch has released quite a lot of pins to date, and online currently you really can only find a small amount of Disney pins, just because it almost feels like they're limited release pins. I really would be interested to hear in others' opinions what they think of these pins. As I've explained, I love these designs, but I just don't really like the make of these pins. I know some people don't have the biggest preference for enamel style with pins, but I definitely like a more classic hard enamel look to them. But I definitely hope that Box Lunch continues to release these really awesome Loungefly Disney pins, and a lot of the rest of the general Disney merchandise they have is really cool. But thanks for watching!